Linked up on Mark13News.com for April 30th, 2022 is first of all the U.S. desire to build a unipolar world, followed by Western powers aim to stop multipolar world as nation continues to rise against nation, meaning the Kenite nation, the shadow government symbolized by the he-goat in Daniel chapter 8, split into two warring factions using unipolar versus multipolar globalism, but there will be no New World Order, as it's called, until after the Great Horn of the he-goat gets broken, the Great Horn of the he-goat being the United Nations, in my opinion. And linked up for May 1st is first of all United Nations struggles to play peacemaker, followed by can the United Nations survive the war in Ukraine, and finally can Russia be expelled from the Security Council, Russia being the current king of the North according to the Daniel 11 hypothesis on biblicalresearchlabs.com, with the United Nations being the one who sends a raiser of taxes in Daniel chapter 11 verse 20, with the raiser of taxes itself being the Paris Climate Accord. And again, the United Nations is also the Great Horn of the he-goat written of in Daniel chapter 8 verse 8, in my opinion. The urgent need for UN reform is another article linked up for May 2nd, and moving on to May 3rd, Turkey becomes an oasis for Russian exiles, Turkey being most likely Gomer in Ezekiel 38, which will become part of the bear of Daniel chapter 7 at the woe of the fifth trumpet, when the so-called New World Order comes into being. And linked up for May 4th is the American hyperpower in its unipolar world, the United States being the current king of the South, but really it's the Kenites on the unipolar end of the globalist spectrum who, for the most part, control the left-right paradigm that Ammon and Moab are symbolic of, with Edom being the multipolar. And linked up for May 5th is the Post-American Middle East, an article that points out how China, Russia, Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia are all vying for influence in the region, all non-Christian nations geopolitically that will become part of the bear of Daniel chapter 7 at the woe of the fifth trumpet. And finally, linked up for May 6, 2022 on Mark13News.com is will Russia and China lead the New World Order? But again, there will be no New World Order, as it's called, until the woe of the fifth trumpet, when Satan and his angels get cast to earth, which is also when the lion and the bear of Daniel chapter 7 come into being, when the he-goat of Daniel chapter 8 becomes the leopard of Daniel chapter 7, the lion being symbolic of the Christian nations geopolitically up until Satan appears as the Antichrist at the woe of the sixth trumpet after the one world political system gets wounded to death. And it's at the woe of the sixth trumpet that most Christians are killed spiritually, causing the Christian nations to become non-Christian nations at that time, when the one world political system becomes a one world religious system. The true Christ won't return until the woe of the seventh trumpet, and as the true Christ says in the last verse of Mark chapter 13, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.